All right, so sorry about being not able to join you. I'm actually here in Mongolia at the Mongolian Network Operators Group. This is the 7th meeting when it was started back in 2018. So I've just finished teaching a BGP workshop. I've just managed to chase the participants away before this session starts. So I'm very happy to receive the invitation to come and talk to you. Apparently, I know a little bit about network operator groups, and I know quite a few of you from AFNOG over the years. My first AFNOG was in 2002, and I really enjoyed coming to all the events I was able to. And my life is still keeping me pretty busy traveling all around the Asia-Pacific region. Whoops, so a little bit about me. As introduced, working for the Network Startup Resource Center, but also relevant to this, I'm the Executive Director for APNOG. APNOG is the Asia-Pacific Network Operators Group, which is the legal entity for looking after APRICOT. And APRICOT has been running since the mid-90s. Some of you probably know I've spent quite a few years teaching about BGP best practices, designing backbones, building exchange points, deploying V6, and really helping encourage the creation of network operators groups and helping the NOGs as they grow and develop in all parts of the world. So I'm just going to look at 4 things. I don't want to overrun time into your break, so I'll keep this to the point. I want to have a look really at what the network operator groups are about before I look at some success stories, and then just share some advice about, well, what I think the NOG functions are and how things would work onwards in the future. Now, when I was developing these slides, I actually looked back through some of my BGP materials, because I say, teaching a workshop here in Mongolia, and there was this slide that I dug out from the training. And it was for internet operations groups, for network engineers and operators and colleagues. And it's many things, but fundamentally, it's all about keeping the internet working. And you find today NOGs cover all aspects. It's the peering business relationships, it could be technology discussions, it could be social events. Don't tell the management, but it can also be for employment opportunities as well. But it's really a great opportunity for the network engineers, systems engineers, and operators to get together and really discuss the bits and pieces used to keep the internet working. So if we look at the first 30 years, NANOG is really what started it all. And this was the North American Network Operators Group. And this evolved from NSFNet Regional Techs meeting in 1994. Today it's mainly US and Canada, but it does attract a lot of participants from Europe and Asia as well. 3 meetings per year, and one of those meetings is held in conjunction with the regional registry, with ARAN. And this really was the inspiration for the NOG movement. And if I move to APRICOT, APRICOT was formed because David Conrad, who was the Director General of APNIC at the time, had been to the first NANOG, came back to the region and was kind of, we need this. We need something like this in Asia Pacific, because crossing the Pacific just to get to a NANOG wasn't really very practical. So the first APRICOT was January 1996, and it's been running ever since. And every year, more and more success. We don't go for size at our event. We go for quality of content. We keep a high standard. And plus, we try and ensure that we have other AP organizations, including APNIC, the regional registry here in Asia-Pac, to hold their events as well. Moving onwards, of course, AFNOG, we know AFNOG, that started in 2000. Some of you probably will remember the Internet Society's Network Training Workshops program. I've participated in those as well as an instructor. But that was being wound down in 2000, but that was the last one. And so AFNOG, really to keep that momentum going, was formed to really bring all this network education, to Africa. And of course, AFNOG is now part of the annual African Internet Summit. SANOG was interesting. This is a spin-off from Apricot. It started in 2003. Again, the demand, the starting growth of the internet in South Asia. And it was because Apricot could not come to South Asia often enough. We held our event once a year. We couldn't turn up. There are, what is it, 40 plus, almost 50 economies in the Asia Pacific region. It's hard work getting around them all. And so SANOG held 2 events a year until this year. And this year, the SANOG committee, the core steering committee, agreed that because we have NOGs in every country in South Asia now, that the country NOGs carry on the function of the workshops, training, local presentations, and SANOG moved to the annual conference. And that was held last month in Bhutan. We've got NPNOG, BTNOG, BDNOG, LKNOG, INNOG, AFNOG, which is Afghanistan, PKNOG, and MVNOG. And the latter 2 are in formation. And so it's the last 2 countries in South Asia, and those NOGs are happening. Maldives is very, very small, as in population size, but they're keen to get this network operator group going, because getting from the Maldives, you go to Sri Lanka or India or further, it's not so straightforward for them. PACNOG, I think by geography, is probably the biggest of all of them. This covers a huge geographical region across the Pacific Ocean. And this one launched after APNIC held its member meeting in 2004 in Fiji. And PACNOG has been running ever since. Training is the focus. A lot of the folks living in the Pacific Islands, they will probably move to New Zealand or Australia, North America for career and growth. And so we have a big challenge in the Pacific of new talent, training new talent all the time. And the brain drain issue is very, very serious for them. So PACNOG serves such an important function in really making sure that we can keep the internet running and growing across the Pacific. So these regional NOGs gave rise to the country NOGs. Maybe some of that was my fault. Maybe it was just also the obvious thing of the regional NOGs can't come to visit the countries as often as the country wanted. And so certainly in Asia now, almost every single economy has a NOG. If I remember correctly, it's China, North Korea, and Brunei are the only places where there's no network operator group. So it's actually very impressive that all the economies in Asia have developed their own country NOG over the last 15, 20 years. I haven't done extensive research over the other regions, but if you look at Europe, most European countries now have their own country NOG. I didn't miss out the RIPE meeting on purpose, because that was kind of a little bit different from NOGs, but RIPE meeting was run by the RIPE NCC for the community, so it's a little bit different, but certainly looks more like a NOG now. But again, RIPE meetings can't go to every single European country all the time. So country NOGs focusing on their own language and own requirements. But the rest of the world seems a little bit kind of interesting when we have some standouts, of course, in Africa and South and Central America and so forth. But Central Asia, Middle East, apart from MENOG, is, well, what's really going on. And then Pacific Islands. PACNOG has been around so long, yet struggling to get a NOG going in Papua New Guinea. Fiji's been talked about forever. Guam has been talked about for several years. So, there's still struggles there to try and get a local operator group happening. Main benefits, I've mentioned the niche, at the start, all the benefits of NOG from the old slides. But really, it's the network and systems folks have a local opportunity to meet colleagues and peers. It's the personal meeting interaction that is so important. And I think we discovered this, unfortunately, during 2020, 2021, and even early 2022. We were all either locked at home or locked in our countries. There was no travel. And many NOGs tried to replicate the events online. For some, it worked. We did 2 apricots online. It kind of worked, but it felt like you were almost on television. There wasn't really this social interaction that was possible. And of course, networking can only be done in person. Because on the internet, of course, no one knows who you are. And especially these years, the world is full of fake everything. And what's also interesting, certainly in Asia Pacific region, is a lot of NOGs are trending towards being meeting places. People go for the social meeting of fellow network engineers to talk about, network infrastructure. The presentations may be there, but the primary goal is to see the fellow network folks, meet potential suppliers, sponsors, and so forth. And those are some in Southeast Asia are more like that now, which is great. It's exactly what they need to be able to do. So there are a lot of no's, but I always see it also from the sponsorship side. The poor old sponsors are trying to sponsor more and more events. And I remember 15 years ago, I was trying to get around all the NOGs in Asia Pac, as well as my FNOG commitments and so on. You run out of days in the year where you can try and cover anything. And of course, sponsor budgets are limited. Where are you going to get the instructors from? People want the same big names and so on. So it is a really limited pool. So some of the country NOGs wanting the big names, they struggle to try and do that, getting the sponsorship and so forth. So there are quite a few challenges, and I have no real answers for that. But to help sponsors and help international participants, the calendar, the conference organizers calendar, NOG organizers calendar has been around for years. It used to be run by NSRC for the Internet Society, but NSRC, we now do this on behalf of the entire community. And I know several sponsors will say, we will not sponsor your event unless it's in the NSRC calendar. We plan our annual budget and travel and NOG participation based on what's there. So that calendar is actually extremely useful for the network operator group coordination. I want to look quickly at 3 success stories. I mean, I've only really got 10 minutes left. So this one, I mean, this was last month in Bhutan. Now, Bhutan, country of about 600,000 people in the Himalayas. Internet only arrived there in 1999. It took many years to get a NOG actually functioning because I suppose the original network internet folks, the older community, well, didn't really see the need of the NOG because they knew each other. But if you look at the photo, I mean, this was like 130, 140 people turned up for BT NOG. It was along with SANOG, but the majority were the local participants. And it's a young team, and this is what's quite incredible. Yes, some of the old folks are still there, but it's a young team, really enthusiastic about what they can do. And the other important thing is they're not just internet service providers. It's any and every entity involved in internet. So, we had universities, we had, government sector, we had banks, we had, data set hosting, small companies doing services and so forth. They all were taking part in the operator group. Here I am right now in Mongolia. MNOG. MNOG was quite a story. I don't have time to tell the whole thing. I've been coming here for 20 years. I've been trying to encourage them to create a NOG. Well, we don't need. No, I don't talk to them. It's this typical story we see all the time. And it was only in 2018, and it was an APNIC training that I was helping out with, that we got the local community together. And the people you see in the picture barely knew each other. And after, get together with a bit of social discussion, explaining we can't come here every month or 2 months or 3 months just to do trying to organize or help you with your community. I mean, I look at MNOG now, it's one of the most amazing, incredible success stories. Again, a young, enthusiastic team. In fact, one of the committee members is working in the Democratic Republic of Congo for a mining company. Mining companies can go to NOGs too because she's running the network infrastructure for the mining company. She flew all the way from DRC to Ulaanbaatar here to help organize the event. So it's quite incredible. And PHNOG is different. It's an interesting but different NOG. It's a modern interpretation. The first effort was tried by an expat who I helped, but he was outside the country. And if you're outside the country, it really doesn't quite work to try and get the locals going. It was rebooted a few years ago by a local team, and you look at the team in the picture. This was from last year. The 50-50 men and women, and they're all young people, all really enthusiastic, and what I would call a modern interpretation. They've got peering personals, tech talks, selfies, sponsor giveaways, game shows. It's all in the style of what the Philippine community love. When I first went to see it, it was like, ah, this is not real. Well, yes, it is because it works. They get a huge turnout because people just love this mix of tech and fun for a couple of days. Um, so, is there a future role for a NOG? I mean, if I sit here, Asia Pacific, oh, absolutely. It's really vibrant, active. But what format? There's so many different formats that are possible, and it's a format that matters to the local community. We can be the very traditional technical training, bit of technical talk, but there's so many other things that are happening as well. And I'm finding these days, compared with even 15, 10 years ago, the format really needs to fit what the local community wants it to be. And that's such an important thing. And we look at the regional NOGs, fair enough. But what about countries? As I said earlier, every country in Asia Pac, bar three, has a NOG. Europe is similar, but it seems to be harder to establish them elsewhere. And rather than saying, oh, you need to do this, that, and the next thing, which I think is the wrong thing to say, um, look at the success stories in other parts of the world. Drivers in Asia Pac, local community. Here in Mongolia, the conference is in Mongolian. The foreigners, like me, speak English. Understanding of English is quite good. We go to Japan, Janog is all in Japanese. And so rather than trying to do the NOG for the international community, they do it for what they need. Local language, local culture. MNOG here has lots of other get-togethers rather than just the annual event. The people involved in it meet every few weeks. And that way they can keep in touch, deal with local issues and so on. Whoops. So what could they look like? A lot of social gathering, some are technical operationally focused, others are mixed. Some have just as big a sponsor exhibition as they do at the conference. So it becomes a big social event, but people will go to it. They take part in it because they can keep connections between people. I hear things, oh, you don't need them now, peering forum is happening. But that's the peering community, and it's often business development, sales, rather than the network engineers. Exchange point meetings, some NOGs have grown out of exchange points. But exchange point meeting is focusing on the IX, and it's not the general network operations. What about the registry meetings? Well, the registries can only do so much and get to so many places, so that's not really a replacement. Or other specialist groups, for sure. There was the MNSEC conference happening, just a couple of days ago last week. That's a security, Mongolian security community. It would be nice next time to have MNSEC and MNOG coordinating and cooperating or co-locating their event. So specialist groups can often co-locate with the NOG. I know, I'm being slightly cynical, saying, well, do we still need, if there's no NOG, maybe everything's perfect. I'm not going to read through them, but there's so many issues here that you can find. And, some places don't meet. Community might be too small, which is what we often hear in the Pacific. Or there's just distrust of competitors. That initial catalyst has never really happened. So just quickly looking at recipes for success, catalyst is so important. That's what I hope I've been trying to do, as well as colleagues around the world have been trying to do, be the catalyst. But you can't be the person who's doing anything or doing everything. Because one person trying to drive the whole thing they'll give up, they'll burn out. It's much better, it's a local group of friends. And, here in Mongolia, we helped them become friends because they didn't know each other. And it's a local group of friends just get together and they can widen the scope, simple technical discussions, and maybe after that, look at trying to hold a more formal meeting. And it doesn't need to be a fancy venue or organization. Keep it nice and simple. But aim for a strong technical program. make sure they're good technical program and local talks as well. MNOG here, like many NOGs in Asia Pac, no sales or marketing talks. It's for technology. Internet operations is so important. We found in Bhutan last month, local language makes such a difference. If English is the second distant language or French is a second distant language, use a local language if that encourages people to be less shy. And meet regularly, not just the annual formal meeting, but the informal one as well, because that helps people to stay in touch. And just keep volunteers interested and give people reasons to volunteer, give opportunities for new helpers. So I've got a long list of things that don't work. This is experience over the years. And there's one NOG information that in this part of the world, they're set up offers bearers, committees, hierarchy, you name it. Before any meeting has ever happened, it doesn't work that way. It's really a casual get together and put in the structure afterwards once you know that it's actually all going to work. Trying to do a big budget event. I mean, MNOG 1 was a big budget event, and it was incredible that it worked. I couldn't believe my eyes when I first arrived here to the first MNOG. That was, I think it was a gamble, but they pulled it off, and they got such a good reputation that people are coming back. Transit provider, incumbent, government, regulator, we've seen all that happen. They're not the network operators. What's their interest in trying to do this? It's really got to be the friends or people who know each other in different providers and IP operators. Helpful foreigners. This is not me criticizing myself. I see quite a lot of places where a foreigner comes in and, oh, we'll give you this and we'll do this for you. We'll set this up and we'll create the website and we'll set up. Well, that's fine, but the locals aren't involved. And when the foreigner leaves, everything stops. So it has to be the local who is going to do it. Local in plural. The foreigner has to be able to encourage the locals to keep meeting, keep doing. There was one that we tried late last year in the Pacific. The foreigners were, oh, great, this, that, and we'll do this, set up a chat group and that. Next thing, as soon as they left, it's all gone. So that doesn't work. It's got to be done by the locals. And then, the rigid, oh, the NOG has to be run this way, and it's got to be done like that. Or they want to be like Apricot or Nanog. Apricot and Nanog are huge events, 1,000 people, complicated program and so forth. Don't try and do things like that. Just keep it nice and simple get-togethers. The community has to experiment what works. Every country is different. Every country is culturally different, language different, operational needs are different. So work out what works locally. And also, participants need to justify the time out of the office. Certainly here in Asia Pac, managers are very interested about what's your time being spent on? Why does this benefit me? And so here we fill the workshops because people are learning BGP or network management and monitoring, and so they can justify the time out. So they're encouraged to go, and the workshops here are packed. Online only. This is my learning lesson from the pandemic. I mean, it was kind of okay doing Apricot online in 2021, 2022. But as a permanent feature, I mean, unfortunately, there are a couple of NOGs I know that simply cannot meet in person. I mean, here in this part of the world, the Afghanistan NOG cannot meet in person. So they are online. But hopefully in the future, there'll come a point where they can do. But we know it's in-person contact. Most people in our industry are really shy. The introverts, they're shy. They're not going to jump onto a Zoom like this and try and meet people. They're, very, very direct one-to-one. And that's the only way that they can really meet. So the in-person is so important. I remember my early use of Cisco when the Cisco telepresence happened. And, I got the put down at the end of the telepresence with, Philip, it was nice to see your image. I want to meet you in person. And that was a major customer. And they just quit the call. So in person is so important. And so trying to meet in person is really essential. I feel very embarrassed that I'm sitting here telling you this online, but such as it is, it's, we can't be everywhere at once. Final lesson, this is the last slide. It takes effort and persistence. But you need to bring the community along with you, encourage volunteers. people attend, but they come back if the experience is positive and the content is worth coming for. They're not going to listen to marketing talks or sales talks. You get them on YouTube anytime. They want to be able to meet colleagues. They want to see good technical content. And it's not just for ISPs, it's all sectors who are doing IP networking. And, I mentioned the example of, one of the MNO working in a mining company. All these companies using IP infrastructure, encourage them to take part. And watch the budget. You don't need big spend, but make sure you get money to pay the simple things that you need. And finally, avoid the bureaucracy until you get something actually going along. And so that's really my review of the last 30 years. I hope it was interesting and useful. I've probably missed plenty of suggestions that I could make, but I hope it provides some encouragement across FNOG region for countries to consider starting their own NOGs. I know that I do, and the NSRC team, when they visit, they keep saying, you really need to look. We can't just, workshop this. You need to look at ways of having the community working together without outsiders trying to encourage you to do it. Anyway, I hope that was useful. Thank you very much. Sorry for overrunning.
Yes. Nothing from online. Kindly, you can ask your question in the Q&A and we'll read them in the room. I'm just allowing 2 questions. I've had first taker in the room. Anyone with a burning question, go to the mic. Okay. Alain, start.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Philip, for this wonderful presentation. Yes, we will try next time to bring you face to face. It costs business class ticket, but I think as a community we will make the effort to get you a business class ticket so that you can be with us face to face. So Philip, we had a problem, and you mentioned it, that the pool of instructors and the pool of the speakers are limited. But we've been trying to build this for 30 years. So what shall we do? You remember at FNOG at some point, we even trying to open a track of a training of trainers. So how should we go about adding more people to this pool?
It's a rhetorical question I've been asking. I've asked it at PACNOG. We had a panel discussion at Apricot a couple of years ago about what to do. A lot of people, I suppose, do we have more attention span? The older guys like us, or more willingness, or is the younger generation not so interested anymore? I really don't know. I would love to know what the solution is. But as you say, we have been trying for years and years to introduce new instructors. We've done train the trainers. We've taught BGP workshops. We've got good participants to come and help us. I don't know. Maybe we should just stop doing it and then see what happens.
And keep Mitchell and Lord helped us get connected to the internet. So as we are spending the 30th anniversary, it's only important that I thank you publicly for that support. So thank you very much for helping.
Yes, thank you. Any questions online? Okay. So that first part of keynote addresses and keynote presentations allows us to go to a break so that we can have session number 2. Our break will be 20 minutes.